Before we begin today's video, I'd like to give a shout out to one of our newest subscribers, Nathan Severtson. When the Y is there, it kind of makes the pronunciation tricky. I do apologize. Severtson. I hope I got that correct. Apologies if I did not. Thank you for subscribing, Nathan, and welcome to the family. And now on with today's video. Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Dragon, and welcome back to Pathfinder Hero Flux. That is Flux, short for fluctuation. And today we are taking a look at the Lamb from a somewhat popular video game known as Cult of the Lamb. A very strange video game. I myself have never played it, mostly because I don't have the time to play video games these days because of my busy schedule, even though I do take time to post videos on gameplay when I can. I have seen my youngest sister play this game, and I must say it is rather entertaining to watch. Even though the art style is a little lacking, but that's kind of the point of the game. That is its charm. It is meant to look like a very poorly made old school video game. In Cult of the Lamb, you are playing the Lamb, our protagonist. They are destined to kill the bishops of the old faith, so the bishops themselves have gone and slain every single lamb in the land, making the lamb the last lamb. And this is seen throughout the game where when you recruit a new cult member, none of them can take on the form of a sheep. It is just you. And well, the bishops do succeed in killing you, sacrificing you, to make sure that the prophecy cannot be fulfilled. However, another bishop gets a hold of us. Not the four main bishops of the old faith, but a fifth bishop. A chained god known as Narindir, the god of death. And he makes a deal with you. He will bring you back to life. However, you must serve him and sacrifice followers to him so that he can grow in power. And you must also kill the bishops of the old faith as vengeance for not only killing you and your kin, but also for imprisoning Narindir to begin with. So that is the basis of the game. You are to kill the bishops of the old faith, as well as growing followers to Narindir, so that he can regain his lost divinity. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Starting things off with our stats, we're going to go with Strength, Dexterity, Intelligence, and Charisma for our main ability score increases. For our ancestry, since we are a sheep, we are going with the Awakened Animal. However, since we made a deal with a deity of death, we're going with the heritage of the Duskwalker. This will give us an increase to our constitution, wisdom, and charisma, as well as decreasing our intelligence, giving us a 12 in strength, dexterity, constitution, and wisdom. Our intelligence will be a 10, and our charisma will be a 14. We will also have starting hit points of 8. Our size will be considered a medium. Our speed is based off of our heritage. Since we went with a versatile heritage, I believe it is just going to be a standard of 25-foot walking speed. You get access to Awakened Form and Awakened Mind. Thanks to the Duskwalker heritage, you get access to low light vision. And finally, for our ancestry feat, we are going with You're So Cute, giving us access to the performance skill and giving us the free feat of impressive performance. And when performing for humanoids, I guess such as the awakened animal, you gain a +1 circumstance bonus to make an impression with performance. I guess it works for a cultist. Speaking of, we are a cultist who serves the Red Crown. We do get access to the other 4 crowns: green, yellow, blue, and purple. And speaking of purple, the goat serves the Purple Crown. Or maybe just an alternate universe version where Narindir is actually a purple crown and not red. I don't know. I just know that his crown is purple. But you can still fit the goat in with this build with some slight changes here and there. As a cultist, you get an increase to your intelligence and to your charisma. You become trained in occultism and the lore of your cult. For your skill feat, you will be getting Scold and Secrets. And speaking of the Red Crown, this is going to come up in our class, which is going to be the Witch. More specifically, the archetype known as the Seneschal Witch. This witch is a little bit different in where normally a witch would have constant contact with their patron. With the Seneschal Witch, you have no contact with your patron. For some reason, they have gone silent. Whether they are dead or just not talking to you, we don't exactly know. But for the purposes of the Lamb, we do know that Narindir is trapped, and thus cannot communicate with us outside of that domain, which is why he gave the Red Crown, which is going to be serving as your familiar to you, the Lamb. As a witch, you get a +2 to your intelligence, extra hit points equal to 6 plus your constitution modifier. You are trained in perception, as well as trained in the fortitude and reflex saving throws, while being an expert in will saves. For your trained skills, you'll get access to Arcana, Crafting, Diplomacy, Deception, Religion, and Intimidation. You need to be intimidating to the other bishops of the Old Faith, as well as their followers. For your attacks, you will be trained in simple weapons and unarmed attacks. For defenses, you are not trained in any armor, but are trained in unarmored defense. Your spells will be using the occult spell list. For your patron, you serve the Bishop of Death, of Wrath. So your patron theme is going to be the resentment, since the god Narindir is resentful of the other 4 bishops. For your Hex cantrip, which you get because of your Sensual Witch archetype, is going to be Manifest Will. You also get access to Familiar of Ongoing Misery. For your Hex spell, I would recommend grabbing Patron's Puppet. And your Familiar will get access to the spell Mind Link. Moving on to level 2, which we're going with, of course, the class feat of the Sensual Witch Dedication, which gives us some extra abilities. As you work to understand the connection with your missing patron, the trapped Norindia, it's increasingly easy to form bonds with those around you, aka the cult members that you recruit. Raw magical energy spills easily through the connection, but without the patron's control, it sometimes resists your demands for it to form proper spells. You gain the Witch's Charge feat, but can't choose your familiar or another creature with the minion trait as a charge. When you cast or sustain Manifest Will, as long as your charge is within 30 feet, you can choose to center the spell's emanation on your charge instead of you. We're also going with the skill feat of Specialty Crafting. I decided to go with this since we are cooking for our followers, as well as building shelters, building shrines, building mines. We're doing a lot of building, trying to make sure that our followers are the most comfortable within our walls. We also build a cemetery, because we need to be able to bury our dead, and a hospital to heal the sick. So yeah, specialty crafting. We're going to have a couple of other skills similar to this, but this was the main one I wanted to pick. Moving on to level 3, we are now experts in crafting, and we're going with the feat of weapon proficiency, giving us access to martial weapons. Some of the items that we are able to pick up and use are weapons such as gigantic swords, or battle axes, or even giant clubs. So yeah, it's going to make sense for us to have access to martial weapon proficiency. Moving on to level 4, for our class feat, we're going with Basic Lesson, going with the Lesson of Vengeance, letting us use the Needle of Vengeance Hex, and our familiar gains Phantom Pain. We're also going with the skill feat of Assurance and grabbing it in Diplomacy. Moving on to level 5. Go ahead and increase your strength, dexterity, intelligence, and charisma each by 2. We become trained in a new skill since we have increased our intelligence modifier. Grab Survival. For your expert skill, go ahead and go for Diplomacy. For your Ancestry feat, I would recommend grabbing the Awakened Animal Lore. This will give us access to 2 new skills, Nature and Medicine, as well as a free feat in additional lore, which will be going into Awakened Animal Lore. We also get access to Magical Fortitude. At level 6, we'll grab the class feat of Spiritual Secret and the skill feat of Group Impression. Thanks to Spiritual Secret, our witch spells will now be able to deal spirit damage instead of their normal type. Which makes sense. Some of those spells that we are doing aren't exactly fire, aren't exactly ice. They're more of a spiritual effect. There are a couple that do still do their elemental types, from what I am aware of, but a lot of them might be affected by the Spiritual Secrets. Moving on to level 7. Go ahead and get an expert in Deception. Go with the feat of Improvised Repair, and we are now expert spellcasters. Moving on to level 8, for our Greater Lesson class feat, go with the Lesson of the Flock. I grabbed it just because it was funny. We're sheep, our cult is known as a flock. It just sounded funny. We gain access to the Sheltering Wings hex while our familiar gains Levitate. We also are going to grab the skill feat in Assurance. Go ahead and grab Deception. We are a cult leader after all. We need to be able to deceive our followers. Moving on to level 9. We are now experts in the lore of our cult. For your ancestry feat, we're going with Wild Stride, and we are now experts in reflex saving throws. At level 10, go ahead and increase your Constitution, Intelligence, and Wisdom each by 2 points, while increasing your Charisma by 1. Because we have increased our Intelligence modifier again, go ahead and become trained in Society. For the class feat, I just decided to go with Martyr, with the skill feat of Charming Liar. At level 11, we are experts in the survival skill. For our feat, go ahead and go with Ancestral Paragon and grab Tooth and Claw. This way we can headbutt our opponents if we wanted to. Or kick them, since we're sheep. We are also now experts in Perception, and we have expertise in our weapons, both simple and martial. At level 12, we are going with the Horror Dedication class feat, giving us access to the trained skills of Acrobatics and Fortune-Telling lore. For our skill feat, we are going with Forager. I decided to go with the Horror Dedication feat because the Horror deck is very similar to the tarot cards that we get access to when we first enter a dungeon in Cult of the Lamb, and the abilities that we gain from those tarot cards. Moving on to level 13, we are now experts in fortune-telling lore. We're going with the Ancestry feat of Sharpened Senses. We also get access to defensive robes and weapon specialization. At level 14, go with the class feat of Vengeful Spirit deck to increase our familiarity with the Horror Dedication. And we are also going with the skill feat of Group Coercion. There's going to be more than one enemy cultist in a room of a dungeon, so we are going to need to make sure that we are intimidating all of them. Going over to level 15. Go ahead and increase your strength, dexterity by 2 points, while increasing your intelligence and charisma by 1 point. We are now experts in intimidation, and we'll go with the feat of Fleet. And since we are now level 15, we are also master spellcasters. Going to level 16, grab the class feat of Reading the Signs, while also grabbing the skill feat of Lasting Coercion. We are able to intimidate rather well, whether it's a foe or accidentally one of our followers. And when we accidentally scare one of our followers, it lasts a while. It's one of those funny things that my sister ended up running into with one of her cult members. She accidentally scared one of them, and it lasted a very long time, even when she used those mushrooms to, quote-unquote, pacify everyone. It was just hilarious. Moving on to level 17, the master skill is going to be Diplomacy, and we're grabbing the Ancestry feat of Ghost Hunter, and getting access to Will of the Pupil. Moving on to level 18, we are going with Patron's Claim, letting us sacrifice one of our followers, or perhaps sacrificing one of our enemies to our patron. We also get access to the skill feat of Evangelize. Going on to level 19, expert skill in occultism, go ahead and grab the feat of fast recovery. We are now legendary spellcasters and we have access to Patron's Gift. And finally, at level 20, Sensual Witch, go ahead and increase your strength, dexterity, and wisdom each by 2 points, while increasing your intelligence by 1. Since we now have an intelligence level of 20, go ahead and get trained in athletics. Go for the class feat of Patron Reborn, and the skill feat of Cooperative Crafting. We have many of our followers doing some of the handiwork, but we are also pitching in just to show that we care about our followers. And this will make it a whole lot easier to craft tents, food, even new grave sites. So yeah, there we go. We have the Lamb from the Cult of the Lamb. What did you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And what feats would you switch out to make it more fitting for the goat? Until next time, this has been Drayhan, and I'm thinking about another occult character for the next video. Can you guess who that might be? Until next time, I am offline.